Welcome back, everyone, to Shoot Your Shot, the photography podcast, where myself, Timothy Musa,
Lindsay Coulter,
wedding photographers, portrait photographers, answer your questions, hot takes, DMs, everything on the Shoot Your Shot podcast on Instagram. We have many beverages here. There's a Diet Coke out of frame. You're finishing the last Red Bull, moving on to the next Red Bull. Beautiful. That was like stereo. That was beautiful. Cheers, bud.
It was really nice.
As always, we're here to answer your questions. So welcome to you, welcome to us, welcome to the Magic 8 Ball. We start every episode off by asking the mystical, magical 8 Ball a question as it pertains to our personal, professional lives. Jose is in the back here. You see him? There he is.
Look at him.
Hi, buddy.
Look at his little tail. Hi, Jose.
He's over it, man. This is the second recording we've done in a row. He's like, can we go on? Can we move on with our lives?
Are we done?
You have an engagement shoot tonight.
Do I ever?
And I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
so much fun.
I was just about to be like, I just found out. I'm just kidding. I didn't just find out. I'm at this time of year, I'm literally living hour to hour. You know what I mean? I'm like, what's happening later? Okay.
Well, my question to you and of you and for you is, will Lindsay have success in parking? That's one of those things that it's kind of a pain, especially in areas where you haven't shot very often.
Totally.
Construction's a thing. It's not as fun this time of year. So
yeah, will parking be on my side?
Let's find out by...
I'm afraid, honestly. If it says no, I'm going to cry.
Don't count on it. So
I'll walk, okay.
You got to walk.
I'm walking
wherever
now.
wherever the session is, you make sure
Carry
you...
my backpack.
2 feet in a heartbeat. I'll put it there. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you.
My Dora the Explorer backpack. That's what I always feel like whenever I've got my like Peak Design backpack
Mine
on.
broke.
I'm like, hi, guys.
My Peak Design broke. Yeah.
Did you tell them?
I have to tell them because I think it's a lifetime warranty.
I'm sure. Well, if it broke, there's no way they're not guaranteeing that.
It was a gift from Taylor Jackson, so I'm not sure if it's...
I think it's probably even more
still
guaranteed
covered.
then.
Well, then heck yeah. Let's get some new bags up in
I'm
here.
confused, though. What do you mean it broke?
I'll show you. The top latch, like the part that buckles in, it's the everyday carry. It like snapped off.
That's crazy.
So the top rung of the latches it can go to is like no bueno.
It is a really like solid bag. Like it's definitely the best bag that I've ever owned. I wish that they would make them cuter.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Peak Design.
It's kind of a bro thing, isn't it?
It'd be cool. Let's
bag.
go beige. Let's try a pleather.
Let's try something softer.
that just doesn't look like it does.
Like a Tesla truck. We don't need
I don't want a Cybertruck on my back.
That's it.
You know
Tesla
what I mean?
truck. Who am I?
It
what
does
are those
look
Tesla trucks?
It does look just like a Tesla truck. Okay, actually, before we get into it, this has nothing to do.
I know where this is going.
This has nothing to do with the podcast and everything to do with our friend Jeff Mack. Listen, Jeff, if you're listening, yes. I am about to say what you think. We all went to Langdon Hall for an overnight stay the other day.
Yep.
And we had a couple glasses of vino.
A couple bottles of vino.
And I was trying to be reasonable. And I discovered that there are people, my friend Jeff Mack.
Yep. Who we know.
Who believe that the Cybertruck.
The Tesla truck.
Is actually a truck. I'm confused by this. Listen, I understand that the last part of the word is truck.
Okay.
But if I call a car like a spaceship, does that make it a spaceship?
I think if it goes to space, it's a spaceship.
Right. So
That's not a great
I think
analogy.
if it's a truck, it's a truck.
Do you thought what makes a truck a truck?
Can you call anything a hatchback if it's not a hatchback?
No, it needs to have a back that hatches, like a hatchback.
A truck needs to have a truck bed.
It has a bed.
That is not completely covered on a slanting slope by metal.
No, that opens up. There's a truck bed in it.
Comes right off?
Yeah, that opens up.
But comes right off?
It slides in. It becomes like a retracting moonroof.
Listen, what's that car that like...
Have you ever seen a...
Of course I have. From like the 80s or 90s. That was like a car...
DeLorean?
With a truck and like a truck bed in the back. I also wouldn't call that a truck.
The one that's like change for $1 one, where he's like change for $1 and then
give me one quick second.
Okay, you do your thing. I'm gonna research.
I'm gonna look it up. Okay. You guys are like immediately everybody's unfollowing us right now.
We're just googling
car with truck bed.
I'm gonna look up this
Chevy El Camino.
Oh, the El Camino in the front. We El Camino in the back. We El Camino. Is that it?
Yes.
How does that go?
I don't know. In no world do I consider an El Camino a truck.
Okay, so this is...
Exactly. I don't understand.
That's a truck bed. Look right there. That's a truck bed.
Look at the size of it. Look at the size of it for one moment, please.
Look at the full cab. There's
cab,
trucks
it's
like
the
this.
same
The
size.
Ridgeline your father owns is also the same size as this.
There's no chance.
You don't
Literally zero chance. First of all, why did they put it in that photo is awful.
Yeah, it's not good.
It
looks
so bad. It looks like it's in the middle of a war
absolute
zone.
chaos.
But AI chaos.
Listen.
The back of that car, I'm not calling it a truck. The back of that car is like the bed, and I won't call it a truck bed, but the bed of that car is the same size as the back row of seats.
It's huge.
No, it's the same size as a back row of seats intended for 2 children to sit in. So, no. Do you guys believe that a cyber truck is a truck? Or can we all agree
that it's a space
with me?
What do you think? Just a vehicle? Just a car?
It's an El Camino.
Okay.
It's a Tesla El Camino.
Yeah, I'd be more on board for that.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's an El Camino. And if you don't know what an El Camino is,
I'll get it for everyone.
I hope that you do know what an El Camino is, but like it is essentially this. It's like a cruiser car with a truck bed, okay? Like we're not talking about.
I got it.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that beast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's less of a truck. I guess the truck bed does come down. It looks like that.
That's actually larger. That's a larger bed than the Cybertruck.
It's like a party. What is that? Oh, they have a tub in here. They've installed a tub?
No.
Those are faucets for a tub, I believe. Could be wrong. Either way, it's a party vehicle. There's trucks. That's a paint job. If you're not tuning in on YouTube, you should be, because we are. Oh, look at these sponsored ads for an EF mount adapter. Thanks.
I love that.
Please tune in on YouTube. Subscribe to all the things. We're not car people. We're not Cybertruck people. We're not Tesla people. We are people with brilliant opinions, and so we're happy to share them with you.
Speaking of opinions, let's get to some photography ones.
Yes, we have a question here. As always, you can keep them anonymous should you wish to maintain your anonymity on the internet. And you have a question that just feels like it's too close to home. Happy to keep it anonymous, as we have for our next caller/DM person right here. The question is, I'm relatively new photographer, 2 years full-time. I saw that you, Lindsay, are speaking up way up north in the fall in Portugal. I've always wanted to attend a workshop, and I'm wondering if you feel like it will be beneficial. What can I expect?
Oh my gosh.
Let's unpack that. What a lovely little boost.
Thank you so much for the promotional opportunity here. That's
for people
really
who don't
funny.
know, Lindsay, what is Way Up North?
Oh man. Okay. So Way Up North is it's like the European wedding photography conference, I would say. So yeah, Taylor spoke at Way Up North in Italy.
Yep.
In May, right? It was May?
Yeah, it was May. Yep.
That's when you got engaged.
That's right.
And yeah, we're going to Lisbon, Portugal. I'm very excited about that. It's October 22nd and 23rd. Here, Tim's just pulled it up. That's awesome. Thank you. Graphics. Yeah, it's very hip. It's very cool. I have no idea why they asked me to do it, but
come on.
Yeah. No, I am excited. They have a lineup of like some really phenomenal speakers doing like keynotes. And then I am doing one of the Way Up North X, the presentations. So those are 10-minute presentations that they get photographers to speak on.
Yep.
Any specific topic. So
there
look,
you are.
It's me.
That's you on the website.
And that's our friend Jeff Chang right above.
Jeff
Yeah.
Chang.
Another Canadian. So yeah, I'm really excited. Actually, Jeff spoke at Way Up North in Italy.
Florence. Yeah.
But he did a full keynote. So yeah, I'm excited. I feel like 10 minutes is like just enough time for me to just go up there, wreck myself, freak out, and leave. It's awesome.
Wreck myself.
And yeah, you have 10 minutes with 10 slides, and they're all timed down
1
to the
minute.
minute.
Yes.
So you have to like really practice, basically, is what you have to do.
It's a theater style workshop where people come, they sit in a theater, and they get talked at and about the wedding photography industry.
So it's more of a conference than a workshop, really. Way Up North is. So I think it depends on, what it is that you're hoping to gain from it, right?
Okay.
Like I think the main difference between a workshop and a conference is the learning style.
Yeah.
And also sort of the activities that are involved.
There are workshop activities at
Way Up North.
Yes.
So there are things that you can do, and I don't know
Photo
if they've
walks.
all been announced, but
yeah.
Canon typically does a sponsored photo walk where they'll have models.
Yes.
And you can sign up for those. They usually those tickets fly. But if you're looking for something, say a workshop where you want to shoot and you want to actually do hands-on learning from a photographer, then perhaps a conference is something you want to look into, as long as they have some of those aspects as well.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really love about a conference of this size, I far prefer this to like a WPPI or
really?
One of the mega cons where you're like, oh, there's like 10,000 people here.
Yeah.
There are communities there, but they're communities of people that have
Within
found each other from
communities,
smaller things, right? From people that have found each other through maybe a platform class or something like that.
And they also, at things like that, like WPPI, those communities seem like they're centered around companies these days more and more.
Sure.
If you're like in the pick time group, it's like you're the pick time party.
Yeah.
And you kind of move with that group. You're the after shoot party, you kind of work with them. If you're the Imagine, work with them. If you're, the Canon group, you're working with the Canon. You kind of move in these little islands of ships around different conferences or experiences throughout the conference. And it feels like you're little cliques. Yeah, like cliques. High school. Yeah,
little cliques.
But you were going to say...
But Way Up North, I don't find is like that. I think there's a lot more intermingling. There's a lot more... of course, there's going to be people that hang out with each other based on the region that they're from, probably the language that they speak, because Way Up North is European. There are a ton of different speakers. It is spoken in English.
Everything is English-based.
The conference is spoken in English, but... there are translators available for people. And I just find the community is really amazing. Honestly, I do think most people probably attend Way Up North because of the parties. I think most people probably attend Way Up North because it gets rowdy. It gets very, very rowdy, which I love. I think it's so much fun. Like the closing night party is a blast. Even the welcome party, though, it's not like rowdy. It's just fun.
Yeah.
So I'm speaking at that.
That's exciting.
I do think it's really worth it. And I think over the last I would say year or so, styled shoots and those kinds of workshops have really gotten roasted. Yeah. Have you seen that? Have you seen people getting really salty about are these real photos or are these styled shoots?
Is this from a style? Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I get it.
Sure.
How do you feel about that? Do you think if you were to look at a photographer's thing and they were like, "Oh, I shot this in Italy," and then it was like environment, it was at a Canon, thing. Right. How would you feel about that?
As a photographer, I feel like that's a good way to show off. That you were able to attend a group and take advantage of the wall of other photographers. Taking the same photograph. Good for you. Mm-hmm. That's great. As a client, someone looking to book a photographer, I don't think I'd care, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think unless it was really hardcore into the scene, being like,
how would you know?
How would you know unless you knew? Unless you were there or you knew people who were there and you knew it was a styled shoot. The same way that AI, these days tags images on Instagram, on Facebook, anything to do with Meta with created with the assistance of AI. There's no tag to say hey, created at a workshop in a relaxed environment where I could control all the environment, the aspects to make this photo perfect. That doesn't exist either.
You mean with models?
Yeah, models
with
and
styling
and
with
hair and makeup
with a person leading the workshop telling them how to pose.
Yes.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of a hard time with that.
Okay.
We ran these. We actually ran them with Focal when we were doing the NADA conference, and we weren't about to tell people you absolutely must share that these were taken at a workshop or, at not a conference. We weren't going to tell people they had to do that. We very much encouraged people, and we told them you should probably, at the very least in some of your posts, maybe if you're going to be posting these photos as your only portfolio for the next few months, it's just weird to be doing that in all of them. But I think disclosing that in a few sporadically, it makes sense. It also just makes sense because you need to be thanking the vendors that were involved in it. So you should always be tagging the models. Yeah. So, once you tag the models, if your clients go and look at that and they can see that the couple was a model, then it's up to them if they decide to choose to still work with you, knowing that, okay, those images were stunning.
Yeah.
They were maybe partly stunning because the couple was hired professional models.
I will say, as someone looking for, if you're looking for a wedding photographer and you're a client, it's nice to see the photographer you've hired or the one you're thinking about hiring working on themselves by attending conferences and learning new things and, creating new content in a way that just makes their brain expand a bit more. You know what I mean? Like creatively, you're able to stretch your legs a bit. You can create images you wouldn't be able to on a wedding day and like take some of that inspiration and bake it into the wedding days you're going to shoot. So it's brilliant from the perspective of, being somewhat new in this industry, taking time for yourself to up your education game and like learn what is possible in your mind and creatively in the space you work in and what you want to create that kind of North Star for yourself to be like, hey, I could do this if I had more time. Let's make it work. And then you can do that. And that's speaking to workshops alongside conferences. Conferences are more for, I feel like, intrinsic motivation. You want to kind of learn something from other people, talk to people who inspire you in the industry and like just get ideas as opposed to putting those ideas to paper and making them real.
Yes and no. Honestly, I actually come away from conferences feeling far more inspired creatively than I do at workshops because I'm too busy actually creating work. It's probably maybe just too much of a hands-on experience. Yeah. So I'm going to naturally go into things like how I typically would shoot a scene, how I would shoot a model.
Do you think it's like left brain, right brain, which I think is debunked now, but do you think it's kind of like that where you get different inspiration? Or?
No, I think I just show up and I'm like, well, this is how I usually, when I'm holding a camera, how I do it.
Right.
When I learn best, I think I need time to like sort of get overwhelmed, crack my brain open a little bit, like look at all of the things that people are doing. At a conference like Way Up North, one of the other things I really love is that it brings people in from all over the world. Yeah. So primarily, most of the educators there are European. Then every once in a while, you'll get people from North America coming in and speaking. But I like that it's not an echo chamber of all the same kinds of people speaking all the time, you know? So I love European hip model type photographers. They're so cool. Like, why are you guys so freaking cool? I'm just not that cool.
Yeah, we're just not that cool in Canada. Sorry.
But I do love going there and having those experiences and seeing how they shoot and seeing people that do drastically different things, like photographers that shoot only black and white medium format. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I want to see the extremes. I want to be like, that's crazy. And I want to feel like, oh my God, I could never do that. Oh my God, I could never do that. I want to freak out a little bit. I want to have a little bit of an existential crisis. That's why if you see me at a conference, I'm often like really like bug-eyed. Like
this is happening.
Honestly, I'm having a crisis at every single conference I go to.
Just seeing how people run their businesses or like the images they create or what's
both.
Both.
I find it really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like I have said for many years, this is a choose your own adventure, and it's sometimes really scary to see how many different paths we could have taken in our lives and careers.
Yeah.
And how one small difference of what if you had started on Sony instead of Nikon?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could have changed that. What if you shot more film? What if you included video? What if you made cues like this instead of poses like this? You know what I mean?
Where would you be?
Many different types of things. What if you only shot elopements? What if you only shot
big banquet halls?
Yeah. What if you only shot, specific types of, like, there's so many different things. Yeah. So I really like that overwhelm. I like that now only because I'm medicated. Let's be honest.
Do you look at it like how continually, or for the past, I don't know how many hundreds of years, fashion has been dictated by the giants that live in Europe as opposed to North America? I mean, that's changing a bit in the last
100%.
50 years probably. But like, I feel like a lot of the styles that we get in North America and Canada specifically are influenced by Europe. More often than not Europe.
Yeah.
And do you think that's the same for wedding photographers, portrait photographers? Is that
I do.
Similar vibe?
And I also think my work, when I think about the things that I'm inspired by, fashion is a really big one. Like fashion and architecture are sort of the two places that I draw the most inspiration from.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I want my work to look like it's walking down a runway. That's not what I mean at all. But I do really love street photographers, even like a photographer, Bill Cunningham, who's like a phenomenal street photographer in New York City. Like seeing the way that he shoots people, the way that he interacts with light and human beings, and even actually how he literally goes and holds his camera in a way that's like, just literally when you watch like any documentary or series or whatever on another photographer, how they go about and do things.
Yes.
I find that to be really inspiring, especially because it's far enough away from what I do as a wedding photographer versus a fashion photographer.
Yes.
That I think it's easier for me to say, okay, here's what I like and don't like, instead of like, I immediately have to go and do that now.
Right.
Which is probably, I think, part of the reason why a lot of trends come out of Europe.
Yeah. Australia too is huge. Like Jackson Grant, he was at the last one. He shoots a lot of the wedding day based around not the couple, but the people who are there at the wedding, because he feels like that is what the value is for the couples. He's done a lot of drugs, and
I love that.
he's created a lot of interesting things, not just through photo, but through video. And he shoots continually on a wedding day on like a fisheye lens. He creates incredible, beautiful, intimate portraits that way.
Really crazy, yeah.
And it was so cool to see. I think he was the headliner of Florence from May, but seeing the way he runs his business and the way he attracts the couples that want to be in his world and hire him for the wedding day was so interesting. He just fully embraces himself, and it's taken a lot of time to get there. And just seeing him talk at this conference was like, oh, that's worth the cost of a flight and admission for me. That was beautiful.
Yeah. And I think, being able to, and that's actually a valid point, Tim, is like, what's it worth to you? So if you're, what did they say, 2 years in?
2 years, yeah. Boop.
You have to do a cost benefit analysis. And unfortunately, without having gone to a conference, you really don't know what the benefit will be to you.
Yeah.
If financially it makes sense for you to take such a big trip, then absolutely, I think you should do it. If you have an extra couple of bucks in your wallet and you're thinking, that sounds really great, I'd love to make a trip out of it.
Yep.
I mean, Portugal looks really gorgeous. I've actually never been to Portugal.
Oh, it's beautiful. Lisbon's beautiful. They have a giant bridge you can see in the background of that one photo. It looks like San Francisco. Like it's mirrored after that. It looks wildly like San Francisco, but it's a beautiful town.
So you make a trip out of it, and I think that's great. But you have to consider, like, if you think spending the, call it $3,000 for you to go and get a flight and an Airbnb or a hotel, plus the cost of going out and all of these things.
Yeah.
If that's worth it to you without knowing any of the benefit, just because you think it would be an interesting experience and you get to go and rub shoulders with some cool people and learn a little bit, then that's awesome.
For sure.
If for you need a more direct linked return, then a conference may not be it for you. Maybe a workshop is
something
more
locally,
it for you.
I will say, regardless of what you do, what you decide to spend your time, hard-earned money on to better yourself, it's so important that you are spending that time and energy on bettering yourself. It's one of those things that you will just give back dividends 100%. Regardless if you get something out of it, it'll be a stepping stone to something else that helps you develop as a human being and as a photographer. No pun intended, because photography developing. But I think there's worse things.
What's the pun in there?
Developing. There's worse things to spend your money on in terms of learning more about yourself and what you want and what you want to offer couples, because it is a big blue ocean of everyone kind of looking the same. And the more you can differentiate yourself as an individual who provides something special that's uniquely you'll be so much happier in the long run, regardless of what you get into in your life. So spend the money. I'd say go for it. Collect memories, not things.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Don't put yourself into debt for any sort of thing. Like, I always am so afraid of, like, there's tons of educators that are like, just put it on your credit card, it'll pay for itself. You know what I mean? And
no, we're not saying that.
I mean, yeah, if you want your business to not be here in a year, put it all on your credit card and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, just give it a shot.
Yeah.
If you book it and you have some time to save, then maybe that will be the thing that will make you work a little bit harder to book those extra family sessions.
The whole burn the boats thing?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very much of the mindset, it's a little bit reckless, but I'm very much of the mindset of like, there's always more money. There's always more money to be made. I can always make more money.
Yep.
I might regret it.
Take on some things you don't want to do.
I might regret doing it, but if it's worth it, it's worth it. And I do feel like, yes, if you've never attended a workshop or conference, Way Up North is a really, really reasonably priced
for sure
conference, like a really reasonably priced, especially if you ever get in. This is my pro tip.
Okay.
If you are considering doing one of these and you really want to go to Way Up North, Cole, the guy that organizes it, he has this thing that he does that essentially you can get a really, really great price on attending if you book in before he announces the location.
Yes.
So it's going to be somewhere in Europe.
Yep. It's always in Europe.
Like
Northern Europe for the most part.
Flights within Europe are generally roughly the same. Even if they're not, you could fly into a more cheap area. and then take a
train.
train.
Yep.
Or take a flight within Europe is much cheaper than Toronto to whatever. If you buy in, essentially, it allows him to say, hey, these people are loyal, right? Like, they want to come for this. They don't necessarily, they're not just coming because it's Florence.
It's usually like €200 off or something like that. $195.
It's a big difference. Yeah, it's usually a really big difference. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit of a gamble, I guess, if you end up with a location like, I don't know, you don't like, or you have a criminal record in, but just kidding.
Our friend Chris Tejas did some work for brands when he was there. He got a ticket.
Yeah, so smart.
And he was able to leverage his talents to work for the brands, creating content for them, whether it's on a photo walk or just like at their booth. And he was able to like make money on this trip at least, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's always options for sure. I mean, or like we will generally do trades with photographer friends, which is another really, really cool thing. So, you know, I have like headshots of myself. Actually, I think that my main profile picture on Instagram is a photo from who became our dear friend, Rebecca Carpenter, who's a phenomenal UK photographer. She did some photos for Taylor and I, which was so lovely. And she did some photos of just me on my own while we were in Italy a couple of years ago now for Way Up North. She was speaking. She was so good. If you don't follow Rebecca, I strongly recommend it. Like, I'm one of her biggest fans, honestly. Yeah. She's so talented. But you can do a little bit of a trade, maybe. You can get some photos of yourself. You can give some photos to another person. A really great way for you to look like, oh, wow, they're like this really cool international person. It gives your clients maybe a new perspective on you and who you are.
The other thing you can do if you want.
It's just nice to like meet up with people.
Totally. And you create so many connections that way. I've made more connections in, you know, even like college. I learned nothing about TV and radio broadcasting. I've learned some things, but not a lot. The majority of the stuff I got from college, the experience was meeting the people who would be my friends. Yeah. If you are so brazen and brash and you feel like you can do it even only after 2 years, do what Lindsay and Taylor did. Host your own conference. Make your own thing. And
don't do that. Tim, don't do that. If you're 2 years in and you want to find a really good way to burn $100,000, I recommend that you start your own conference. Yeah.
No, it was awesome.
No, we did not burn $100,000, but it's an extremely expensive thing to do.
Yes.
It's extremely time consuming. Yes. It is really risky. Yeah. There's a lot of challenges. Don't listen to Tim. Do not host your own conference.
What if they
Taylor
know a lot of people?
and I are 10, 15 years into this and we're like, holy shit, should we really do a third Canada Photo Summit? And if you're hearing this and you're asking me that,
please let us know in the comments.
I have no idea. I'm tired.
Fair.
I'm just tired. It will come back. It absolutely will.
Absolutely will.
But I think doing a fall and a spring one was maybe like not my best idea. Maybe we should just do.
Well, what's something people can do 2 years in? They can host a photo walk. I just attended one with Ryan from Panda Plush. Of course
you can host your own
It was photo based. It was awesome. We did like, there's maybe like 30, 40 people.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Did a walk from a coffee shop all the way down to a brewery. That was a blast. Had a good
do a
time
photo walk. Do a meetup with other photographers in your area if you want to. I mean,
start slow and small.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are just looking for a community, you can find community in all kinds of places, and you can cultivate your own community in all kinds of places. It doesn't always have to cost you $3,000 on a plane.
But it's nice.
But yeah, I do highly recommend it. Look around, and if you're really unsure, like, I mean, I know we've just given you a whatever minute pitch on Way Up North, but if you're ever unsure, ask people that have attended. Hey, did you get a lot out of this? Yeah. Would you say it's worth it? What would you say was the best part of it for you? Because someone might say, yes, it's worth it, but they're in a different financial position than you, or what they needed was different than what you need. You know,
maybe use it as an excuse to propose to their girlfriend.
Yes. They use it as an excuse to propose. Also, if you do it, you know, if you attend conferences, it is a write-off. It's a write-off.
Just write it off.
If you're a Canadian, so within Canada, you can actually write off the HST.
Up to like nice. What, 3 a year, 2 a year?
I'm not. Okay. Do I look like an accountant?
I don't know.
I don't know why I brought up write-offs. Everything's a write-off if you are creative.
Yep.
Enough.
Listen, we've exhausted this answer. I hope we were helpful.
We've exhausted ourselves.
Yeah, I'm so tired. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate you being here. As always, if you have a question, comment, hot take, leave it at the Shoot Your Shot Podcast on Instagram. We would love to answer it here on the podcast, whether it's public or anonymous like this person did here today. So get after it. I don't know. Is that a catchphrase? Get into it. Have a great day.
Get after it.
This is my second Red Bull. Lindsay, well done. You've nailed it.
Cheers.
Congratulations. Enjoy your shoot
Thank you guys
tonight.
for being here. And please send us in your questions, comments,
Yes.
concerns, hot takes,
Yeah.
dirty words.
Like, subscribe, do all the things.
We would love to hear from you guys.
Have a great time tonight. Find some parking early. I hope you find it.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
you should probably
Okay.
do it now.
I'm going to leave now. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.